And to discuss Africa's ownership, leadership, and commitment in this matter, we are privileged to have among us Mr. Keizire Baoz Keizire, the AU CAADP focal point at the African Union Commission.
Thank you, Your Excellency, the Ambassador. Your Excellency, the Ambassadors, and I observe all the protocol. I'll spend some time, the little time, to talk about the African commitment. CAADP provides a basis for a good and evidence-based planning. It's a process that aligns towards a common vision and purpose. Common not because it's common between, say, some actors in the government and different actors, say, environment partner group, but common beyond the people who have subscribed it at country level. We have also begun to see that CAADP aligns the recent G8 food security program that has been launched by the heads of state, but also other actors in Lakira. The program talks about predictable and quality investment design, accountability, transparency, efficiency, and implementation, focusing on results. That's what CAADP is about. Because the fact that we have seen many people in Africa coming from rural areas and they depend on agriculture. So for you to have an effective and a meaningful poverty reduction, you've got to tackle it from agriculture. And I think that's what this principle talks about. That unless you invest in where the people, most of the people live, then you are not likely going to have an effective poverty reduction. So now the process has been done like this. We start with appointing a person who is responsible to understand and explain the focal point and run the business at country level. Then you launch the process at the country. And in this launch, this is where we spend a lot of time. Difficult area to begin to explain to a person who is coming from the village that you are doing computable general equilibrium model and growth to look at where we should be. Okay? But you can be able to use simple terms and say that once production has been taking place with your beans and potatoes at your household level and computed, they have only contributed only this significant to the entire growth. And you are going through all this process with all the stakeholders on board. You are not doing it because it is a few guys in government who are able to put their hands up first and speak loud and also be able to explain things based on public opinion rather than what science actually says. And because they are also being able to meet with their colleagues in the Ministry of Finance and government partners and sign an agreement, and you call that a commitment. And that's what we have been seeing all the time around. And at the end of the day, you do not see again sufficient progress. To the extent possible that we begin to see that now, it looks like that the kind of investment that have been chosen do not speak the issues that people have been talking about. In terms of illustration, that's how the process, in simple terms, is. Focal point appointed, it is launched, and actors are engaged. You have a commitment by government in terms of understanding and appreciating the process that you are going to use evidence-based planning rather than public opinion to make choices. And then you go further and have a compact drafted, and then you have it signed, and then you start implementation. You are implementing investment areas that are based on evidence-based planning rather than on public opinions that are picked both by actually the elite and the non-elite in the documents that we see or being supported. We have seen many times in countries in Africa and beyond where political leaders, both at top level and middle level ministers, have agreed that we are going to engage in this kind of investments. And they choose programs and they attract investments into their countries. And down the road, once that program is not fast enough bringing results as they want to attract a political gain, then they begin to change. Not simply because the program is bad, but they are beginning to lose trust and time is against them because the next election is going to be against. So you change. So you are able to change at a time you really feel that it should be changed. And I want to emphasize the point of private sector and civil society and farmers. Because many times we pick private sector who sit in capitals, they have also taken actually the shape and the big thinking of those who are like in government. They don't have realities of what goes on farm. What kind of seeds are required? What kind of extension messages are required? So once you begin to have only those, then you are not speaking to the real issues at the country level. It's a contribution that doesn't make the government and government assistance committed, but the commitment that brings in other actors that speak to what the public investment should be. It enables ownership and agriculture investment programs by all key stakeholders. It enables each other accountable for promises and commitments. It enables to hold each other accountable. It provides baseline for peer review and progress review on facts. Strong leadership commitment has yielded results. Those are a few countries that have signed compacts, others are in the process of signing compacts, demonstrating commitment, and we are seeing a lot of it coming.
Thank you, Mr. Keizire Baoz Blackie, for that passionate depiction of Africa's commitment to food security and the agricultural development on the continent. I should have mentioned that Mr. Baoz is also a part-time lecturer at Makerere University. And as I intimated before, once Africa has shown leadership, once it has developed the strategy, once it has owned the process, and backed its words with real resources of its own, it has the right to ask and get external support. The multilateral financial institutions are and have to continue being a very important partner for Africa in the struggle against rural poverty, food insecurity, and low agricultural productivity.